If 12 months ago I had told you that we were on the verge of a global pandemic which was not only going to shut the world down, but that was also going to shut wrestling down to the point no fans were going to be allowed into the arenas, you would have come around my house, knocked on my door and kicked me in the balls. Hell, I would have kicked myself in the balls. It just sounds so implausible and it sounds like a massive lie. However, that did happen, so now when we do move into 2021 trying to make some bold predictions, I mean, what the hell can we even pull out of our ass? And really, we should just fold our arms and be like, well, what is the point? But that's no fun, and entertainment and fun is what the name of the game is all about. So what we are going to do is we're going to sit down, we're all going to calm down, and we are indeed going to make some bold predictions for this year or next year, depending when the hell this goes up, when you're watching it for 2021. Strap yourself in. Yeah, let's go. Number 10, AEW Dynamite beats Raw in that 18-49 demo. Regularly. Now, before we do get into this one, I do just want to say that sometimes, just sometimes, fans go a little bit too far when we are discussing ratings. There's nothing wrong with sitting down, looking at what Nielsen has spouted out there and having some healthy conversation, but when you start insulting each other over a flipping number, well, I think we all just need to calm down. Also, you should want all wrestling shows to do great. That's better for the wrestlers and it's better for the talent. That's kind of what it's all about. However, if we do put our statistic hats on and start to look at all of that, somewhat incredibly, in 2020, AEW Dynamite was able to beat Raw in that 18-49 demographic. So my big bold prediction for the next 12 months is that maybe they're going to do it again. Because although the war at one point, or at least began when it was AEW versus NXT, you could now kind of say that it's AEW versus all of WWE, because yes, on the 16th of December 2020, this is what that episode of Dynamite did. And look, we all thought that maybe it could happen a year or 2 years down the line, but it did it so quick. As like a rocket ship. And now look, do I want AEW to do this again? Yes. Do I then want WWE to really pull ahead? The answer is yes. Do I want AEW Dynamite to then catch up? You see where I'm going with this. It ties into my point a minute ago. I just want all wrestling organizations to do great, and I want millions of people to tune in because I'm just that kind of a guy. But yes, if things do continue on the same trajectory at the moment, this is indeed what's going to happen, and nobody called it, other than Uncle Dave Meltzer. That's all I got to say about that. Number 9, Vince Russo comes back to the WWE. I know, I don't want it either, especially given some of the things that Vince Russo has said throughout the years. And when he was done that, he probably went and put something on a poll. That's just his life. But this really does tie into what Vince McMahon seems to do when his back is against the wall, and that's go old school. That's why back in 2019, all of a sudden Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff were executive directors of Raw, and now that we've done it with management, and now that we've done it with wrestlers like Goldberg and Sting and everyone like that, and there's nobody else to pull out of the hat, well, you go to the writing team, you go to creative, and you go back to the Attitude Era, and you get Vince Russo. And there's no way it can work. There is no way it can work, but if times are desperate, I suppose. Just prepare yourself, because all of a sudden, everything you see on Monday Night Raw is going to be shoot, 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 bro. Number 8, however, is that then he'll be gone again. And yes, if it does happen, I'm going to presume it's going to be a Bill Watts situation in the 90s. Bill came in for like a week, and then realized it wasn't going to work, and Vince McMahon, kicked him out the door. Recently, though, out there in the ethers of the internet, Russo has booked an angle where Matt Riddle would hit on Stephanie McMahon and based a whole episode of Raw around Randy Orton kidnapping Alexa Bliss. And given what happened on a Raw recently where Randy Orton tried to set fire to Alexa Bliss, maybe Vince Russo's idea is actually better. But he also says silly things like he doesn't think that Sheamus and Kevin Owens are credible world champions, and that's the last thing we need. Treat these guys like superstars, don't pull down your pants and crap on them. So look, deep down in my gut, I don't really think there's a point to any of this, and I don't think it's going to happen, but it probably would serve as the last hurrah before Vince Russo buzzed away from the WWE forever. I don't know why I just turned him into a bee. Number 7, Triple H is usurped as the head of NXT. Now this all depends on how personally Vince McMahon is taking the NXT versus AEW war. If some rumors are to be believed, and he's real mad about this, and he can't believe that AEW keeps beating NXT in the ratings, you never know what he may do. And even though Triple H is his son-in-law, maybe he goes, sorry pal, I've decided that I want to take over. For the record too, I think this would be a bad idea because the rug has already been pulled under the feet from Triple H a couple of times, like when Charlotte Flair went down to NXT. It would seem that the point was that Rhea Ripley was going to defeat her eventually, but the Raw writing team, and I guess Vince McMahon said, no, you can't do that, we don't want you to, So Hunter Hearst Helmsley didn't have a choice. And that is a little bit of a worrying sign because surely the game should have more power than that. But again, this list is all about making bold predictions. If I stand here and go, I think AJ Styles is going to have a match, you're like, why am I watching this bald idiot? Also, if I do get it right, I'm going to look like some kind of wrestling savant. And if not, you'll forget about this video by tomorrow. It's the nature of YouTube. Number 6, those NXT replacements. And so if that is the case, who indeed comes in? I suppose it all depends on how Triple H takes all of this. Like, does he come or does he go? Does he throw Vince McMahon out of a window before looking into a camera and going, get it? I mean, there's just so many scenarios. But looking at the environment at the moment, I would suppose that Bruce Pritchard gets drafted in, as well as Triple H's old running buddy, the Road Dogg Jesse James. The latter would be an interesting choice because at one point it did seem like he'd fallen out with management or something went down, but that is not the case with Pritchard. He has all the power in the world right now. If he went zzz, lightning bolts would probably come out of his hands. And look, fair play to the guy. He's turned SmackDown into a really watchable wrestling show. Maybe he could do the same here. The pair would absolutely bring in sports entertainment though, and whether that's good or bad for NXT, only you can decide. I think that it's just a little bit bad because I get sports entertainment on Mondays, I get sports entertainment on Fridays. If you can give me something different on Wednesday, I will always appreciate it. Number 5, the end of Bray Wyatt. I think I may mean that literally because at the end of 2020, I saw Randy Orton burn Bray Wyatt to a crisp. So maybe he is dead, or if we do see him again, is at the very least his skin barely all screwed up. When I say end though, I am referring to Bray Wyatt ending his run in the main event scene, and this comes in 2 points. Now the first point, we have to go back to November 2020 and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, where Mr. Meltzer did say there are certain people in WWE that are trying to keep Roman Reigns away from a Bray Wyatt feud because they don't think that's going to help the Tribal Chief. Because of course, if you take on The Fiend, he's going to no-sell all of your moves, and that's basically Roman's entire character. He's a sociopath and he doesn't care. But that then leads us on to point 2, and point 2 kind of strangely is The Undertaker. But when you look back on the career of the dead man, how many times did he win the world title? Not that many. How many times was he in the main event? Not as many as you would think, and that's because he was The Undertaker. He had a great character. He didn't need to be at the top. He didn't need to be closing the show. He could be inserted anywhere, and it would give WWE more gravitas. And surely that's what we should be doing with Bray Wyatt, all things considered. He doesn't need the usual wrestling opportunities that other people do because he's already got himself over because of his crazy creative brain. If you do put him at the top, it just comes with a wealth of other issues that we've already discussed throughout the year and back in 2012 because it's never ended. So just treat him like the new dead man and like the new Phenom, but not like for like, just in positioning. And I think it makes oh so much more sense. Number 4, the most protected finisher in wrestling is ended. Finishes in pro wrestling have been so crushed throughout the years that now even calling them finishes is absolutely ridiculous. Apart from one, and I am of course talking about Mojo Rawley's hyperdrive, and the reason it is so protected is because he's never on TV to use it. Don't know why I take shots at Mojo Rawley. You should use him, WWE, he's great. And yes, I just called him Mojo Rawley. But in reality, I'm talking about Kenny Omega and his one-wing angel, where only one person has kicked out of that. And it wasn't John Moxley, it wasn't Okada, it wasn't Chris Jericho, it was Ibushi, and that's another video for a different day. But because of all of this, it now comes across as the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. Until somebody kicks out of it. Because it is time to add another name to that list in 2021, and that name, of course, is Mojo. No, it's not Mojo Rawley, it is Hangman Adam Page. Surely the whole narrative with the Cowboy is that he's going to climb back up that ladder, he's going to get to the top, he's going to have a match against his old friend, and not only win the AEW World Championship, but cement himself as the new face of the company by kicking out of the One-Wing Angel. If we can do that in front of fans, my word, can you imagine the pop? What I live for. It also just makes all the sense in the world, so just do it, AEW, just do it. Although actually, if you want to wait till 2022 and really eke this out, well, you have my support. I know that doesn't mean much because I'm just a bald a-hole on the internet, but support you have all the same. Number 3, the next major star to jump to AEW. And as for a bold prediction with that one, I am going with Sami Zayn. Now it all depends on when Sami Zayn's contract is due, although the murmurings are that it is in 2021, and this would be such a get because seriously, take a minute and think about it, who is more consistent in WWE than Sami Zayn? He can do it all. I mean, remember how good a babyface he was down in NXT and how really he should have been given a similar run when he was on Raw and SmackDown? Well, do you know why he never got that run? It's because he is so good and he is so adaptable. Vince McMahon looked at him and was like, wow, I can do anything with this guy. So he literally does everything with him. He is such an asset to any roster though, and everybody in All Elite Wrestling is going to know that. And if he did come in, not only is he going to feel like a major star given his tenure, but he probably would be used at the top of the card. And then you've got another main eventer on your hands. This extends to the wrestlers too, because not only does he have a history with the Young Bucks, but are you telling me people like Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega don't look at Sami Zayn and think, well, that is one talented tamale? Of course they do, and I'd imagine Tony Khan was the same. You can also do whatever you want with him. If you do go back to booking him as a good guy, it will be tremendous. We've already seen what he can do as a bad guy. You can't go wrong. Now, obviously, it all depends on what Sami Zayn wants to do, but something here smells interesting, and interesting things are always the best. Also, if you want to get a massive reaction out of the crowd, you could even have him debut as El Generico. It would take a lot of explanation to, well, more casual fans. That's the job of the commentators. You could surely do it. Number 2, WWE drops a pay-per-view. In 2009, WWE decided to experiment with gimmick pay-per-views. You know what I'm talking about, Hell in a Cell, TLC. You would build an entire card around one of these stipulation matchups and hope that people were so excited to see it, they would tune in and they would pay money, and at first, it worked. The problem now is that it's been going on so long, we're having these matches for the sake of having these matches. Like when The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels had the first Hell in a Cell match back in 1997, it's because the month prior they had had a match and they couldn't get a proper finish. People were interfering, there was a bunch of schmoz, so they got locked in this structure, whereas now you can get 3 on one card just because it's called Hell in a Cell. It's just past its sell-by date, and that's nobody's fault. It's called life. 11 years is just a long time to do anything, and to give you some perspective, that is the same period between Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant and Stone Cold Steve Austin winning his first WWF title at WrestleMania 14. Things change, and we just don't need it anymore. If you do put these to the side for a little bit, maybe their magic will return, and then you can do a big comeback. Oh my gosh! And once again, breathe life back into it. Number 1, the Forbidden Door opens. Which of course is a reference to Eva Marie finally returning to pro wrestling. I am of course joking once again, and I am talking about AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling working together. And do not forget either that AEW absolutely wants this. You can go back to a Talk is Jericho podcast in 2018 when Kenny Omega says the words, "We'd really like to work with New Japan," and also some of the management over in the East that may have been stopping this have now left, so maybe we're closer than ever, even though we're very far away. But remember, bold predictions. You've also got to factor in the recent pandemic, which has made things harder for everyone. And if you do it right, a bunch of lapsed and casual fans are absolutely going to come back when you book an invasion angle right. It's just so exciting. It's not just storylines and potential matchups that makes this such a good idea. New Japan still want to make waves in the US, and what better way to do it than by teaming up with the second biggest United States pro wrestling company, who one day could even be number 1. And if you need a final reason, it would be fun. That's why Tony Khan did the Impact thing, because it would be fun. Don't ever crap on fun, otherwise fun will crap on you. To be fair, some people like that. It's a little bit weird, but whatever makes you happy. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know your bold predictions for 2021. And again, I want bold predictions. Just say crazy stuff is much more fun. Then like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to whatculture.com where you can read articles like this. Follow What Culture on Twitter, What Culture WWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. Hopefully, not a bold prediction. Doesn't make sense. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for watching. And look, I'll be back in a year's time. If I've got any of these right, I'm gonna do a dance, which nobody wants to see. See ya.